Giving back is such a core part of your well-being and your sense of purpose. But I hear a lot in private life coaching sessions that people are burnt out on volunteering. In this video, I'm going to share 7 steps to finding not just any volunteer opportunity, but the right one for you. And for most people, it does not fall into traditional forms of volunteering. So stay till the end because you never know which idea will resonate the most with your unique situation. In case you're new, I'm Sin Meyer, the founder of Second Wind Movement and a life coach for older adults who are striving to turn their retirement years into their best years full of purpose and meaning. A big part of that is, of course, finding your sense of purpose. In fact, finding clarity on your sense of purpose during this big transition into retirement while you're going through a pretty significant identity role shift is the number one challenge I hear people struggling with. If you're familiar with our content, you know that giving back is just one of the 5 rings of retirement framework. And it's a pretty important one because it does lead to fulfilling your sense of purpose. You've just got to find the right fit and format. And there's plenty of research that tells us giving back is also good for your health. For example, United Health Group conducted a survey and found that 76% of the people who volunteered at some point throughout the year felt physically healthier. 94% reported volunteering improves their mood, and 78% felt less stressed. Another study from a pair of research leads from Johns Hopkins University found that people who provided social support to others had lower blood pressure than people who didn't, which indicates a direct physiological benefit to people who do give back. And yet another study from 2 lead researchers out of UCSD and Harvard showed that when one person behaves generously, it inspires observers to behave generously later toward different people, which supports the idea of paying it forward. So it benefits the greater good too. Now that I've hopefully encouraged you to dig into finding the right volunteer opportunity for you, let's head into 7 steps to finding the right volunteer opportunity, starting with step number 1, self-reflect. Understanding your skill set, your professional and personal experience, and also your limitations are going to be key to deciding the type of volunteer opportunity you want to get involved in. You can ask yourself, what role do you want to have in your volunteer opportunity? What skills do you have to offer? Which past experiences would you like to recreate? Which activities give you energy? It can also be helpful to think of things that you want to limit. For example, what physical activities do you not want to do? Where do you want to cap off your mental strenuousness? I want to point out that this first step of self-reflecting for the sole purpose of gaining clarity is not to be glossed over. Clarity, which is inward action, is so foundationally important before taking any outward action. And I hear about this a lot in private coaching sessions, so I want to share it here. This isn't something that happens in one sitting of self-reflection. It is a process that most people just skip over or expect overnight results. It is worth taking the time to do a proper, consistent practice day in and day out, even if it's just a few minutes per day, so that you can unlock what you really want, the real clarity from your subconscious. I wrote a whole book on this topic in case you want to dive deeper into gaining clarity and unlocking your best retirement life as a whole. So just in case you want help with this process, which most people sadly skip over, I'll leave a link to that in the description below this video. For now, step number 2, understand your commitment level. Map out your schedule and physically create an ideal weekly calendar. You can be sure to include all your non-negotiables, your prior commitments, your leisure time, and your free time. Yes, schedule in your free time. Once you have your time blocked off, you should have a better understanding of how much time you have for volunteering and giving back. And also how much free time you want to dedicate to doing other things or simply just keeping it open. Freedom and flexibility are huge during retirement. You can avoid overcommitting yourself to a volunteer opportunity by being super clear on how much time you want to dedicate to the giving back part of your life. Rather than starting off with finding a place to volunteer and catering to the commitment and needs of the volunteer opportunity and then feeling uneasy about it, or worse, considering sacrificing your leisurely time or vacations or passions, it's best to explicitly define your ideal commitment level outright. Step number 3, be clear on how this impacts your goals. You can be efficient with how you spend your time and create more meaningful experiences for yourself by aligning with activities with your overall goals and dreams. Think of the various ways that a volunteer opportunity can impact your bigger picture plan and be intentional about how you want to be involved. How do you want volunteering to fit into your overall goals? What would you like to learn and gain from your experience? Some examples. If health, let's say, is a priority for you, consider volunteering at a fitness or a health-related group. If you're after a certain mission or a cause, giving back to an organization that aligns with your specific interests can be very fulfilling. If you have the travel bug and are interested in traveling and finding your next adventure, you can consider giving back abroad. And if you love sports and dedicate some of your leisurely time to watching your favorite teams, for example, you can consider contributing to their various foundation events and participating in them. The list goes on, but the main takeaway is to, again, find that clarity first before taking any outward action. Journaling and brainstorming are going to help, which brings us to number 4, brainstorm from your learnings. Now, jot down a list of all the organizations, types of places, and various causes that you're interested in from your learnings in the first 3 steps. Simply brain dumping after a good self-reflection session can be illuminating. You can put into more concrete terms the types of volunteer opportunities that sound appealing to you instead of just casting a wide net to see what sticks, which is an effective way to be more intentional and choosy about how you spend your time giving back. And chances are you'll find something that will feel right and energize you for a longer period. Focus on things that leave you feeling energized and let the brainstorming begin. Some ideas to get your juices flowing for finding the right volunteer opportunity: family and friends, educational, environmental, sports, underprivileged, needy, disaster relief, cultural, neighborhood, elderly, creative, or passion-oriented. Keep in mind the places and people that energize you. The activities that give you energy are likely where your passions live. Step number 5, only after you gain clarity, is time to begin your research. I intentionally put the research step late in this list sequence because being clear on the type of volunteer opportunity that you're after is so important to finding something that suits you best without wasting your time and energy on volunteer gigs that aren't the right fit, and then getting burnt out only to believe that you're no longer interested in volunteering or giving back. I hear about this all the time in private coaching sessions, so it's worth mentioning again. Remember that the way that you give back and contribute and share your unique gifts is going to look different than A, what's traditional, and B, what you've been doing your whole career and or family life. As I always like to mention, you are designed to grow, change, evolve, develop at every life stage, and retirement is no different. In fact, retirement is the beginning of a big growth journey. So back to volunteering. Rather than starting off by scouring the internet or researching volunteer opportunities that may sound good to you, researching with intent, very clear intent, can be super helpful in finding you the right work. If you're more intentional and specific about what you're looking for, you're more likely to be fulfilled in the long term. So now that you have a better idea of the skills you want to offer, how much time you want to commit each week, how this impacts your bigger picture goals and lifelong learning, and the type of organization you want to work with, you can do the research with all these factors in mind. The process will be so much quicker and definitely more intentional. And in case you need ideas on where to look, I've put together a guide of 20 top volunteer websites to give you more volunteer opportunity ideas. So I will leave a link to those resources in the description below this video. And step number 6, interview the organization first. This is backward from what you've likely practiced your whole career, where you interview the organization. You can treat it like a reverse job interview to find out if the organization will be the right fit for you. Take the time to dive deep and ask questions about the ins and outs of your volunteer role. Ask questions about what's required and expected of you, and find out more about how the organization is run and what the culture and the priorities are like. And also talk to other people who are already involved at the organization, whether they're paid members or other volunteers. And finally, step number 7 is test it out. There's nothing wrong with taking baby steps and testing out your volunteer opportunity first, especially if it's one that requires your commitment of a longer period of time. You want to make sure it's worth that time on your calendar. You can potentially set up a trial period and commit to the short term first to find out if the volunteer opportunity is really something you're into. And it's okay if it sounded better in your head than in reality. You're always gaining clarity at the very least. Pay attention to whether or not the experience energizes or if there are parts that seem draining to you to help you decide if you want to fully commit or not. If you've made it this far, you're well on your way to finding the right volunteer opportunity that fits your unique gifts and passions and interests. It's also worth noting that most people don't complete these 7 steps in one sitting. It's about breaking this whole thing down into a daily rhythm and taking consistent micro steps each day. This will relieve a lot of the pressure for making any rash decisions or finding the right volunteer opportunities straight away. And remember, it's all about gaining internal clarity first, then taking consistent outward action and next steps. Thank you so much for being here and striving to be your best during retirement. We need more people like you to help shift our culture to be better. So please like, share, and subscribe and comment on this video. Every engagement that you make with our videos helps us do our job better of creating helpful content for this important audience of older adults. Thank you so much for being here and watching. I will see you in the next video.